IPMNation.com.
Live from the Outpost Studios in Columbus, Ohio, you're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. Brought to you by IPMNation.com. Get ready for the gong heard round the world.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Put the red pen down. It's time to let your strength roll. AllNaturalBeing.com.
All Natural Being. Warning, All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full contact psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brian Brawdy.
All right, let's give this a shot. Welcome. Thank you for stopping by the number one rated show here on IPMNation.com, episode 255 of the Gong Heard Round the World. You're in to All Natural Being, broadcast as it happens here on IPMNation.com and Facebook for Fly on the Wall video. Live from the Outpost Studios here in Columbus, Ohio, with rebroadcast on iTunes and iHeartRadio. Glad to be there. Thank you so much for having us. Greetings wherever you are here in the Garden of the Mortals. Top of the day from the truest parts of your mind, truest parts of your heart. Because life, it's your labyrinth, your shot at running the table. That's why we're always putting your heart's highest priority, top of the list. Always. Placing your primal scream front and center in your life, where I think it belongs. Reinstalling and reinstating the true wisdom of your inner whisper. No more watered down wisdom. The true wisdom. It's time to reboot your robust, define your ferocious, to out-brutal the brutal in the cut and shuffle that fate deals you on a daily basis, and to bring your own bold, once and for all. Before we hit it today, hello to my friends here in the United States and Canada, Mexico, the UK, my good friends in Ecuador, China, the Philippines, Brazil, India, Australia, Germany, Italy, France, Turkey, Japan, Singapore, Sweden, Israel, South Africa, Puerto Rico, Kenya, the Netherlands. To those of you joining us from all over the globe, it truly is great to have you with us. I truly am fired up to be driving your bandwagon, to be your biggest fan, to be avidly you. Because it's time to mortal up. So what do you say? Let's go kick in some doors. So this morning, as you know, I get up bright and early. I come in. I hang out over on Twitter for a little bit just to see what's going on. If for no other reason other than the fact that I like to look at some stories and then just imagine to myself what Sue would say, right? Sue would go, "Oh, for the love of God, don't do that story," right? So I'm in a dilemma this morning because there's a story that I want to do so bad I can taste it, but yeah. But in any event, we've got a cool show planned for you this morning. And as I said this morning, it's time to mortal up. And when I said over on Twitter, stop whining, I wasn't talking about us. I was talking about the people that say, oh, I was offended by that remark. I was insulted. I was outraged. I was injured. I was hurt. Or this. Stop your whining. This truly is the labyrinth of life. This truly is your shot to run the table. Why would we waste our time whining about what other people think? It's like taking up our bandwidth worrying about what other people wear. Let them wear what they wear. Let them do what they do. No, I'm not going to do it. So, thank you very much. Oh, and thank you for all the shares this morning over on Twitter as well, because the question that I ask, very simply, is why would you be exploited by the words of another? is a human mind so permeable, a brain so brittle, that it can be personally pained by the ideas of another person, by the words, by the poison that another person wants to throw at you. Are we really that much of a piece of Velcro that's just waiting for something else to stick to it? So thank you very much for the shares over on Twitter. I appreciate it. All right, let's hop on the thread, see who's here, say good morning to some folks. Let me do this. Big day today. So we're working on the audio. As you know, we're working on calls in. And it's one of those things where, because I've had to learn a lot of this. So my line in the sand for today, if you will, is we're going to get ready for the show. I have a few little things to do. And then I'm not leaving until we figure out some of the other things that we're going to be working on. So we're very excited to that, including tomorrow. We're going to start taking calls into the show. And I'm honored to have my good friend, Henry Noel. He's going to be calling in. He's going to be our first guest. But then we're going to have segments where you go 2 minutes for your 2 cents. Where you just call in and go, hey, yeah, I think I want to say this. I want to say that. So we're excited to be putting that together. And then we believe, right, fingers crossed, we finally believe that we've worked out getting the video feed in as well. So we're going to be, I'm in over my head. But in any event, thank you for putting up with me and sticking with me this long as we figured out how we're going to do all this. All right, so let's jump in and say good morning. John, nice to see you, brother. I made it. Great day to everyone, to you as well. Henry, thank you for joining us. Marcellus, good morning. Daniel, good morning. Buenos dias to you as well. Brett, nice to see you. Top of the morning to you, Brian. Thank you, Brett, very much. And you know, it's funny because we have, Brett, people that listen in from around the world. So when I was writing it this morning, I was thinking, do you say top of the morning? And then I said, for in this segment, we're going to top of the morning. And then to our friends that are in other parts of the world, top of the day. Or at least top of the day from the truest parts of who you truly are. So thank you, Brett. Nice to have you here with us. Thank you for joining us. When we're talking this morning, now we're going to get into it a good bit more tomorrow, but I started thinking about it the other day where somebody said, what do you think about what it takes in order to rid yourself of the ego? And Henry will be getting into this a good bit tomorrow morning. And I thought, it's kind of like, are you familiar with the term deciduous teeth? Right? Or baby teeth, the teeth that we come preloaded with. Apparently, we come like with baby teeth, and then right above and right below them, we have our adult teeth. But the deciduous teeth are baby teeth, right? And there's like a shelf life to them. I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think there are a lot of 56-year-olds running around with their baby teeth still. I don't know that much about dentistry, but maybe if Kelly's listening this morning, she could tell us. So my sense of it is not unlike deciduous teeth that you're supposed to, there's a shelf life, right? Planned obsolescence, I guess you could say, right? That you're supposed to reach a certain amount of time and then it's replaced, right? We don't sit around and go, oh man, I'd like to get rid of my baby teeth. I need a pair of pliers right now. I'm just going to yank one of those teeth. Of course we wouldn't do that. And we're not saying that that's what you would do in terms of your ego. Your ego has a shelf life. Your ego has a sense of planned obsolescence. Your ego, not unlike your deciduous teeth, it's got a shelf life. It was there to help, just like your baby teeth, I imagine. It was there to help get you to a certain point where the equilibrium, where the balance, as I said the other day about training wheels on a bicycle or water wings. If you saw me going down the street and I'm riding a bicycle and I still have training wheels on, would you go, Brian, I think it's about time you learn your own equilibrium. I think, all the training aids, I think it's about time you learn how to ride a bicycle, how to keep your own balance. Well, that's the thing with the ego. Where we get to the point where we're saying, okay, thank you for everything you've done. You've gotten us to this point. Thank you so very much. But now it's time for my adult teeth to come in. Now it's time for my adult sense of self to come in. I needed the ego to kind of get me up and going, right? I needed the ego to get me to a certain place. But then, I grew up. And then you realize that fate's always going to target us with the slings and arrows of other people. Fate's always going to have something to say. But that you and I can get to the point where we go, yeah, I'm not going to worry about that. And so this morning when I said, mortal up, stop whining, I go back to ricocheting around in my mind is the reporter the other day said, well, someone asked this reporter, well, what do you believe about this? And the reporter goes, I'm offended by that question. A reporter, someone that's responsible, at least, I'm assuming, for providing the news, providing you the truth about what happened, said, I'm offended by your question. Well, being offended, letting the ego run the show, is no different than trying to chew your food with deciduous teeth later in life. Good morning, Kelly. Nice to see you. Again, good morning to Brett and Daniel, John, Marcellus, Henry. Thank you so very much for... Oh, you know what, too? Let me just do this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Could have broken it up, but thank you so much for all the shares. There's the prayer bowl for the shares, as I mentioned. Thank you for all that. Janelle, thank you very much, as always. We're talking this morning about how the shelf life of our ego, how we outgrow. And maybe we need it in the very beginning. Not maybe, we do need it in the very beginning so we can say, okay, here's how to make our way through life. Good morning to Alan. Here's how to make our way through life. We need a little bit of outside conjecture and opinion to go, oh, well, yeah, no, you were right. That fire was hot. I don't need to get burnt by it. Thank you for the heads up. But then we reach a point where we get rid of the water wings. Hello, Alan. We get rid of the water wings. We get rid of the training wheels. We get all the things that we need to do to help us in the very beginning with our equilibrium, with our balance, learning what it is we need to do to get through life. And then it gets to the point where, right, we don't have to jettison it. We don't have to do anything. The Facebook debate that I was involved in the other day that basically said, what do you have to do to beat back the ego? Grow up. Mortal up. Realize that the ego is like a set of water wings in a swimming pool, or as I said, training wheels on a bicycle. And then we get to the point where we go, you know what? I have a pretty cool opinion of myself already, so I'm not going to listen to all these other people. I'm not going to listen to what everyone has to say. I'm not going to suffer the slings and arrows, to quote Shakespeare again. Dallas, good morning as well. Thank you for joining us here on All Natural Being. We're just talking about, in terms of a shelf life of an ego, in terms of having that satellite office where people think they can just get in, right? Like leaving your front door wide open and inviting people to come in with cans of spray paint and put graffiti all over your walls, your furniture, your cat, your dog, whatever you got. We would no more do that than we would to continue to have a satellite office where the ego goes, it's all about the peer review. Well, not always. And I'm beginning to believe there's a certain pathology to the peer review. That is, in the situation where we're constantly looking about getting a thumbs up or a thumbs down, what is it we're going to do? When it comes to putting our heart's highest priority top of our list, when it comes, as I say, to placing our primal scream front and center in our lives, we're always holding back. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We're always holding back. But what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? What would you do if you knew that putting your heart's highest priority top of your list, kicking in some doors, the smile that you're going to have on your face? Now, I was reading this article the other day that say scientists have now identified that there's certain genes within your central nervous system that are activated when you try something new, right? So there are these dormant parts of you, if you would. There are these parts of you that are just waiting to be activated. And what activates these things? Something new. So instead of the tried and the true, instead of the ego going, oh no, we need a safety net, right? There's boundaries. There's a handrail, right? But instead of running around with a head full of handrails, what if we just said, no, I'm going to try something new? And these doctors have identified that this gene expression, right, what it takes to turn the gene on or off, that adventure, something about to happen, is what activates these genes. But if you and I sit around in the status quo, if we sit around in the commonplace, if we sit around and we listen to the ego and go, oh, you better be careful, you better be safe, you need an insurance policy. And then these genes just lie there dormant in you. But what if for 20 minutes, 20-minute victory, 1/72nd of your day, what if you said, I'm going to do what I can to activate those genes? I'm going to do what I can to try something new. I'm not going to buy into the nonsense of the ego. I'm not going to buy in to the nonsense of my deciduous teeth, my deciduous self. And I'm going to set out for the adventure. What would that mean to you in your life? And knowing, as we do, that the universe dovetails. When you decide to manifest your destiny, when you say, okay, I'm in, I'm going to follow my heart's highest calling, no matter what. I'm going to place my primal scream front and center in my life, no matter what. The universe dovetails. The universe goes, ooh, he knows what's going on. She knows what it's all about. And then the universe dovetails. So instead of being run by that part with the ego, and the ego goes, I don't need the universe dovetailing. I need to be safe. I need to be secure. I need to make sure the crowd's good with me. But in a healthy development, it is that sense of adventure. It is that sense of something about to happen. It is that sense of going, okay, I'm going to go kick in some doors. No matter what happens, I'm going to square my shoulders. No matter what fate does in terms of the cut and shuffle, I'm going to out-brutal the brutal. I'm going to out-brutal the brutal. I'm going to do whatever it takes in this particular moment in all of time. I would agree with you, John. The social conditioning plays a huge role in keeping folks from bringing their bold. Bring your own bold. BYOB. But even more importantly, I think, or in addition, I should say to that, John, what I started to realize in my life was that, it's societal conditioning, but it takes two to condition. And so I wanted to accept responsibility for the fact that, because all I could say, oh, look at society, look at my environment. Well, it's all epigenetics. Of course, look at your environment. But ultimately, if I'm going to be played by a puppet, well, then I'm giving away the remote control. If I'm going to be played by a puppet, I'm running around going, hey, stick your hand up here. You can play me like a puppet. Oh, which would make it a great time. Speaking of sticking the hands up, thanks to the folks at themountain.com. If you haven't had a chance to check them out yet, themountain.com. Here's my yin-yang hooded sweatshirt. Thank you very much. Also, we were talking. Also, hey, Sarah, hope all's well. Nice to see you. And as Brett said earlier, top of the morning to you. Well, top of the morning from tryh2.com. Can't tell you how much the molecular hydrogen has meant in terms of my recovery. So if you get a chance, check out tryh2.com. It's amazing. I've been studying lately all the different ailments that they say, oh, you know what? You better watch molecular hydrogen now. COPD, fibromyalgia, arthritis is a big deal. Whether you inhale it or ingest it, I happen to do both. You'll be amazed. So you owe it to yourself to do a little bit of research on molecular hydrogen, and the folks at tryh2.com, who are a sponsor of the show. Thank you so much for that. Tryh2.com, they'll hook you up, even in terms of dementia, which is how I first bumped into them. What is it that I could do? Because this cards are stacked against me, right? It's not like I go to a doctor and the doctor says, oh, good for you. You have a brain shunt. That got you an extra 25 years tacked on to life. Henry says, society encourages us to maintain and feed our ego when we need to take what we have been taught, grow up, and place the ego on the back burner and face the world. Absolutely agreed, Henry. Ego is that tool. Henry says ego is the tool that society uses to control you. Absolutely. It's just like you might as well just pass out remote controls. Go to the parade on the 4th of July with 1,000 remote controls and just give it to everybody and go, here's a remote control. You want to change my attitude? You want to change my opinion of myself? You want to change, my course? Just hit the remote button. Oh, yeah, it's just a remote button. It's not very fancy. Just, a couple buttons. Dana Lee, nice to see you as always. Molecular, yes. Molecular hydrogen, big deal in terms of both the inhalation and I drink it now through water infused with molecular hydrogen. All the studies that have shown what it does to combat free radicals. And we were talking about free radicals. Speaking of free radicals, how about philosophical free radicals? The ego's a huge fan of philosophical free radicals. The ego's like, come on in. The ego, in that regard, is like being in a rowboat out in the middle of the ocean and then drilling a hole into the bottom of the hull. The ego loves it when what bubbles up is all these philosophical free radicals. But I would say to you that it's because it's shelf life. All the ego knows is outside opinion. But then we get to a point where we go, Guy Apollinaire, the quote that I love so much, he said, "Come to the edge." They said, "No, we are afraid." "Come to the edge," he said. They said, "No, we're petrified." "Come to the edge," he said. They came, he pushed them, and they flew. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, now scientists are saying that it is. Janelle, good morning. Thank you again for the shares. I hit the prayer bowl. Thank you again very much, Janelle. We're talking about scientists now saying that there are genes just waiting for your sense of adventure. Parts of you that are dormant just waiting for you to put your heart's highest priority top of your list. And even if you think about, in terms of the mind, how the mind works, the neurons, the axons, the dendrites, all the rest of this, it's reaching out into virgin territory. It wants, the mind digs the new. Not the K-N-E-W, right? It digs the new, the N-E-W. And this is not just a philosophy anymore. The physiology of it is that those genes are waiting for you to be a badass. Those genes are waiting for you to kick in the door. What's on the other side of the door? You don't know, right? It's not our destiny to know what's on the other side of the door. But that those genes are turned on, they're activated and reinstated when you decide, I'm going to go, I'm not going to listen to the deciduous ego. I'm going to go. And I'm going to kick in some doors. I'm going to put my heart's highest priority top of the list. All right, you get where I'm going with that. Stumbling in a bit late. Well, it's nice to have you, Janelle, no matter what time you make it in. Thank you so very much. Nice to have you here with us. And we're talking this morning about, we become habituated to intrusion. But at a certain stage in life, the ego is all about intrusion. It needs to take in some of the learning. What would we, in the whole debate between nature and nurture, that's not this debate, right? But putting that aside for just a moment, your ego is that operating system that allows you to go, okay, great, right? I need to get some of this information in to learn how to make it in this gig called life. But then we reach a point where we go, no, it's time to throw it out. It's time to jettison it. There's a shelf life, some planned obsolescence. Henry says, ego's our personal vacuum sucking in everything it wants. Most of what it sucks in, we don't need, and we'd be better off without. I would agree. Especially, now here's the thing. The cool thing about it, Henry, is I think when we're all younger, we're on full vacuum mode, right? Because we got to learn. We got to pull this all in. But when will the learning be enough? When will the binge thinking be enough? And so that's why I'll only mention it one more time, but I go back to deciduous teeth. I go back to our baby teeth because there's a planned obsolescence there. There is a shelf life. We need the ego in the very beginning. But then do we reach a stage in life where we go, yeah, the ego, right? It's telling us, don't run with scissors. Don't do it. Look both ways before you cross. Don't stick a fork into the outlet. Right? We need a little bit of help in the very beginning. But then we grow up to the point that we go, well, wait, you know what? I don't need a satellite office for all the mashugana of the marketplace. I don't need that marketplace selling me my sense of self. Yes, I was habituated to the sense of intrusion when I was younger because I needed that incoming information, but now I've grown up. And no longer do I need to subjugate myself. As I asked this morning, are you really that exploitable? Where the opinion of another person can get in and ruin your day? Are you that? That's what I asked over on Twitter. It was one of the Twitter sites that sends questions out around the internet. They picked up on it this morning. Thank you very much for that. They picked up on it. And here's the question. Are you that permeable? Are you that exploitable? As the owner of a human mind, are we that susceptible to the spew of our critics? Only with our permission. Only with our invitation. And as John said earlier, we're talking about societal conditioning. Well, it takes two to condition. Thank you, Marcellus. It takes two to condition. So, don't let it happen. And if we're going to be conditioned by something, how about the wisdom of that still small voice? How about the wisdom of your whisper, of your heart's highest priority, of your primal scream? And what if we decided that we're going to operate from now on with a wisdom that isn't watered down? And I think that's what truly gets me about, which is why I'm so fired up to be doing the Brawling with Brawdy. Because you get all these people that are just hell-bent on convincing you. Here's something I'll mention quickly. I've been working on this piece about, that was very dehumanizing. Everyone's worried about dehumanizing. That comment dehumanizes people. No, what dehumanizes people is the belief that a comment can dehumanize an individual. The comment in and of itself isn't dehumanizing. You have to decide to buy into that comment. You have to decide, right? And all these people that are hell-bent on convincing us that the human mind is so precariously perched, the human brain is so permeable, that they're vitriol, that their opinion matters. Well, I guess their opinion does matter if you want to use the brainwidth for that and not putting your heart's highest priority top of your list. So when we say every morning that I love driving your bandwagon, I love being your biggest fan, I love riding shotgun, it's with that thought in mind. That when we go ahead and decide no more training wheels, no more water wings, no more letting our ego control us, we've grown up. Thank you very much. Thank you for your service. Thank you for everything that you've done to get us to this point. But now, I'm pretty good. And I was talking to Henry about it yesterday, but I equate it, you look at the space shuttle. Space shuttle takes off. You ever see pictures out in space of the space shuttle with the solid rocket boosters still attached? No. What happens? And Henry will speak to this more than I can. Maybe we'll ask him this tomorrow. But at some stage above the Earth, they jettison those solid rocket boosters, the fuel, right? They use the fuel and then they toss it. You don't see the space shuttle up around. We're getting up to the Skylab or whatever it is. It's a shuttle. No, the shuttle. But what do they go to? John, help me. Where do they go to? Space station, whatever maybe that's a shuttle getting to the space station. You don't see them trying to negotiate into the space station with the solid rocket boosters still attached. They jettison them. There's a planned obsolescence. The deciduous solid rocket booster fuel. Well, same with the ego. We get to the point where it's only going to hold us back. It's only going to slow us down. The true enlightenment, the true wisdom comes. That's what always kills me about people go, you want a course on enlightenment? Put the ego in the back seat. You have all the enlightenment. You're already enlightened. You want the true wisdom of life? You are the true wisdom of life. Given a human brain, not a lobster brain, not a hamster brain, a human brain. You are that wisdom of life. Once we decide, and maybe that's it. Maybe Henry really is onto something here. Maybe that's it. That simply recognizing that the ego has a shelf life, a born-on date, and at some point in life we go, thanks, I really appreciate it. But the ego's like, oh man, I'm digging this. Well, I'm digging being in control. I'll give you a shelf life. I got your shelf life right here. I'm digging being in control. But then we have to go, yeah, well, who wouldn't be? Talk about a totalitarian government or governments that get in, these puppet governments that get in and go, I'm not going to give up. I'll use the army. I'm going to hold power all I can. It's just like the ego. So if you look at some of the totalitarian regimes, right? Now, I know I'm only welcoming myself to Russian bots or whatever, but look at someone, even if you look at someone like Putin, it goes, oh no, I'll be president again, and again, and again, more and again. Right? Look at what's going on in China. And again, and I'll be president again, and I'd like another 10 years, and then another 10 years. Well, that's all the ego's doing. The ego goes, oh, wow, I love driving the bus. Just toss it to me, I'll handle it. But do you chew your food with your baby teeth? That's what it all comes down to. And that enlightenment that everyone's busy searching for, right? That wisdom that everyone's busy searching for. You come prepackaged, batteries included. It's already in you. Your authentic vigor, your buried logic, it's already in you. Good morning, David. Nice to see you. Hope all is well. We're talking about the shelf life of the ego and how to experience true wisdom, true happiness, true enlightenment which you have already. It's indigenous to you. It's native to you. You're wild at the core. You're all natural being. Once we realize that the ego has a shelf life and that we don't have to be subject to the slings and arrows of the committee vote unless we decide to let ego overstay its welcome. All right, speaking about overstaying its welcome, morning, David, to you as well. We're going to go ahead and get out of here. Thank you so very much. We're working all day, but we'll be taking in your calls. So I would love to hear your voice, to be able to come on in and give us, 2 minutes for your 2 cents. So we'll get all of that together. We're working on that today. But thank you so very much for putting up with me through all this. 255 is the episode of today. Thank you so very much for all that you've done, because it's got to be getting just tiring going, I'm trying to figure out the audio today. Just got to be a pain. So thank you for sticking with me as I learn how to do some of this. And thank you again so very much. Get out there. Let's not be so touchy. Let's not be so timid. Let's remember who we truly are. Let them say what they want to say. Let them believe what they want to believe. Let them do what they want to do. As long as it doesn't physically derail you from putting your heart's highest priority top of your list. Fun fact, what do you care? Let them go. Let's agree right now before we run not to be so permeable. And go, whatever. All right, we got to get out of here. Thank you so very much for joining us on All Natural Being, and we will be back. You know what? I wonder if I can do it. Let's just try this. It's been so long since I've done it. Nah, we'll just go like this. We'll leave with fire beat, and then we will look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. Thank you so very much.
IPMNation.com.